ॐ तवकमृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं शरवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि वदन्ति भूरिदा जना. Your words are like nectar, bring life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We're on the chapter Bankim Chandra, and this started on page 666. The date is Saturday, December 6th, 1884, and we're at Adhar Sen's house. He had invited Bankim there. Now we're starting at the top of page 673. We saw last week that Bankim, it's hard to really figure out what he's thinking. Yeah. Everything we know about him is that he was a good person, a sincere person, one of the most highly respected writers, almost the father of Bengali literature, you could say. And yet he comes off as being a little bit of a wise guy or a smart aleck or uh, trying to show off in front of his friends. It's hard to understand exactly. But two things we should note. One, if Thakur really found him to have no substance, he wouldn't give all of these teachings. Very often people would come and he would say, I don't know why I didn't feel like saying anything. They'd say this, Michael Madhusudan. When he came, Thakur said, I don't know, as if someone were holding my mouth shut. So I couldn't say anything. And then Bankim afterwards, he also asked some very serious questions, but they were a wonderful conversation. So I think I don't know exactly. We were discussing this chantra, this word, and in English, uh, the translation that we get here is I think saucy. Yeah, that when Bonky makes that remark, what about man's duties? If you ask me about them, I should say they're eating, sleeping, and sex life. Then Sri Ramakrishna says sharply, you were very saucy. It really means a very low class kind of person. Yeah, with no manners or rude. It's a little stronger. Saucy can just be. Yeah. So it was. Thakur came back strongly, but Bankim doesn't seem to mind too much. But he also didn't learn his lesson because many other times he'll say things that strike us a little bit rude, or at least misjudging the mindset of Sri Ramakrishna, how these things will strike him. So anyhow, it's all a little bit curious. Okay, so we're at the top of page 673, and Thakur had mentioned before this about the guru, that pray to God with a longing heart, and he will answer your prayer, and then someone will come and tell you, do this, you will attain God. And then Bankim says, who? The guru. He enjoys all the good mangoes himself and gives us the bad ones. Laughter. Yeah. So I think he's trying to be light. I don't really understand why he would behave like that. We know with some of the others, the Brahmos, that they didn't care for the idea of the guru. And with Bankim, I don't know what to say. But anyhow, now Thakur is not coming back too sharply. So he says, Master, why should that be so? The mother knows what food suits the stomachs of her different children. Can all of them digest palau and kalia? These are the rich types of dishes. Suppose a fish has been procured. The mother doesn't give palau and kalia to all the children. For the weak child with the poor stomach, she prepares simple soup. But does that mean she loves him the less? Now, Thakur gives this illustration usually with regard to the Divine Mother and this all of the different uh, spiritual paths that Mother has given to the world. Here it's with reference specifically to the Guru. Now, there's not much of a distinction because it's the same thing that the Guru will know what what food suits the stomachs of her different children. So this is the doctrine of adhikara. There's this term adhikara. It has a slightly pejorative meaning in terms of exclusiveness and everything, and it has a very positive, good meaning. I remember reading a book once that it was a Western scholar writing about Vidyasagar, and he said that Sri Ramakrishna maintained the doctrine of adhikara. Yeah. Now, Thakur maintains the doctrine in the best possible sense, not in the sense of exclusiveness. See, the very exclusive doctrine goes back to some very orthodox beliefs that you had to be Brahmin, you had to be male, that you didn't have access to study Shruti, other things like that. So Sri Ramakrishna, he took it the best possible sense is that there's a spiritual path that will be suited for us. That it's not that we're not qualified because we don't belong to the right community or anything like that. It's a question of our nature, the depth of our understanding, our spiritual outlook, that some things will just be better for us, more suited for us. So Sri Ramakrishna has these two criteria, we could say, that the mother knows what type of food the child likes to eat. So when we decide on a spiritual path, a lot of it is not a question always of what we think is the most logical or what we think is a higher truth or anything like that. It's very often what appeals to us. Now, what appeals to us won't necessarily be what we can digest. We all know that. We like spicy food, we get indigestion. And now the mother is the one who knows that my child likes this but can't digest it. So this is the role of the guru, to know the nature of the disciple, to be able to direct the disciple, give the disciple something that appeals to him or to her, but at the same time that can be digested and will be helpful. Yeah. So this the very basic type of thing. Thakur is not he doesn't push the idea so much that no spiritual life, the spiritual practice will bear fruit without a guru. He's not so strong on that, and he himself did not like to be looked upon as a guru. Now, this is another question of what mood he's in at the time. The three words that he didn't like. Huh? Guru, Karta, Baba. That this was his basic simplicity and humility. There are other times when he's the greatest guru we can imagine. Yeah, and he knows it. It's not like he doesn't know it, but he doesn't think of himself in those terms. That at that time he's thinking Divine Mother does everything. She's the one making him speak, and so the mother within is the one doing it. He had that attitude. So this is one of the most important aspects of this idea of the guru. That the guru will know better than we know. The child doesn't know what's the most nourishing food. It knows what it likes. There are many times when we think that this particular path is very appealing. That we see other people, that they're all following some pretty special thing or something. They've all become Buddhists. They're all doing this vipassana meditation or something, or they're all jnanis, or they're all doing kirtan, singing and dancing. And we think, yeah, we should also do that. We get influence, peer pressure, and other things like that. So it has to really be sincere for us. Now, take someone like Vijay Krishna Goswami. Very sincerely, he had joined the Brahmo Samaj. I don't know the circumstances when he joined or how he was influenced, probably from Keshav. But Thakur knew from the very beginning that it wasn't in accordance with his inner nature, that his inner nature was really devotion, bhakti. And Thakur was right. Of course, he was right. That this came out, and he left the Brahmo Samaj. He became a sannyasin and followed the path of his Vaishnava traditions, according to the family that he was born into, and everything blossomed after that. So Thakur said many times that you have the nature of a bhakta, and he was trying to squeeze himself into a slightly different box. So it's very important for us to feel comfortable in the path that we're in, and also for it to be the most appropriate one for us. Now, a spiritual path, it doesn't mean we have to either be one or the other. We can try to integrate all of the different spiritual yogas into one path. Not that we're jumping from one to the other, we integrate them. Yeah. And for Swamiji, this was the strongest bit. So, okay, so then he continues, Sri Ramakrishna. One must have faith in the Guru's words. The Guru is none other than Satchidananda. And now, this is another case. The Vedantin will say, everybody is Satchidananda. God is dwelling within everybody. And Thakur was, yes, but in a special sense. So that means that we can have special reverence for the Guru, see God dwelling within. And God may dwell within other people, but they may not give us the right advice. We may not have faith in their words. We shouldn't all of the time. We have to be very cautious. In the Guru, we can have faith in the words as if Divine Mother herself is speaking to us directly. God himself is the Guru. If you only believe his words like a child, you will realize God. So this Shraddha for the Guru, this faith, whenever we hear this word Shraddha, it always refers to, at least initially, to the teachings that we find in the scriptures and the instruction we get from the Guru. These two things, we should have tremendous reverence and faith. God himself is the Guru. If you only believe his words like a child, you will realize God. What faith a child has when a child's mother says to him about a certain man, he is your brother. The child believes he really is his brother. The child believes it 125%, though he may be the son of a Brahmin and the man the son of a blacksmith. Yeah, this is a good example because Kamarpur was a blacksmith village, and Thakur was the son of a Brahmin. The mother says to the child, there's a bugaboo in that room. And the child really believes there's a bugaboo in the room. What is a bugaboo? Huh? Some type of spirit or something. Huh?
Yeah.
Bhoot.
Fictional ghost.
It's some type of ghost.
To scare the small children.
Okay. And the child really believes there's a bugaboo in the room. Such is the faith of a child. One must have this childlike faith in the Guru's words. God cannot be realized by a mind that is hypocritical, calculating, or argumentative. Now, look at the language here, hypocritical. So we can't think one thing and say something else. We can't fool ourselves. We have to, or fool others. We have to have that honesty. Calculating that, always trying to figure how our words will affect other people, what benefit we'll get from it, what they'll think of us in different ways, calculating that way, or argumentative, that not even sincere. Somebody says something, and we want to show that we're smarter than them, that we can defeat them in some type of argument, because we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking that we don't want to be introspective, thoughtful, that we don't want to analyze things. Yeah. Now the other side of the picture is that no matter what anybody says, we should analyze it. So we have the two opposite extremes. We have Latu Maharaj, Swami Atmajnananda. If Thakur said something to him, that was the beginning of the end, no question whatsoever. And then we have Narendra, Swami Vivekananda, that Thakur could say something, immediately he'll raise an objection. And then later, if people said to him, "Why do you argue with him?" He said, "It's not that I don't believe him, I don't understand it. I want to be able to understand it. That's why I raise objections and things like that." So they both had their Shraddha in different ways. And Thakur liked it with Swamiji. He said, "Test me. Yeah, that's okay." Just like the money lenders, they get a coin, they have to bite into it, find out if it's really silver or gold. Test me like the money changer tests his coins. Don't accept a word that I say without testing me. But it's not argumentative. It's if the Guru says it, there must be some truth to it. I want to understand it. That was his attitude. Of course, sometimes he would laugh at things that Thakur said. He and Hazra.
But he used to love him very much.
That there's no question. There's no question. How Swamiji, both. Thakur loves Swamiji, we know that. But sometimes we may think that Swamiji as Narendra was a little indifferent, that he didn't mind that Thakur is weeping for him, wanting to see him and everything. But there were times when Swamiji, as Narendra, he couldn't bear to be away from him. He threw his books away. He ran barefoot without stopping all the way to Kachipur one time to see him. And yeah, and how afterwards, if anybody got him talking about Sri Ramakrishna, it would always be how he loved me. Tears would come from his eyes and everything. So, yeah. So this hypocrisy. Yeah, Thakur could bear almost anything, but this hypocritical attitude and lack of sincerity. This is why he could love Girish. Girish wasn't a hypocrite. If he did something vulgar, low, or something, he'll come right in and say it. He won't try to hide it or make himself look very saintly or anything like that. So Thakur respected that about him. Now we get yearning. One must have forgot the yearning of a child. The child sees nothing but confusion when the mother is away. This term, vyakulata, yeah. This term, I don't know how to translate it exactly into English. It has this idea of yearning, but it also has this idea of a type of anguish, a type of agony of heart, almost. We can understand that when Thakur talks about getting this wet gamcha and squeezing it. Yeah. In India, this very common sight to see. People, they may take bath wearing this gamcha, or they may wash something with it, and then they'll dip it in the water, and it'll dry very quickly in hot weather. But they'll take it and they'll just wring it so that all the water comes out of it. He said, when you feel like someone is wringing your heart like that. Yeah. So not simply yearning or longing. There's this real agony at not having realized God. This anguish of heart, tremendous type of longing, but more than that.
Very strong.
Yeah, it's a very strong word, vyakulata. Yeah. So, Thakur, respected that about him. Now, But here it's used in a very positive type of way. That yeah, if we're away from a loved one, that or someone passes away or something, just that anguish of heart is not having their company anymore, or not being able to see them, that type of feeling. Yeah, we see sometimes if you ever go to a mall or some crowded place or something, and the little child is separated from the mother, how the child is screaming for its mother, doesn't know anything but the mother. Thakur gives these examples. The child sees nothing but confusion when his mother is away. You may try to cajole him by putting a sweetmeat in his hand, but he will not be fooled. He only says, "No, I want to go to my mother." One must feel such yearning for God. Yeah, the problem is that we don't know how to do it. I say, good, I accept that. I accept that. But I'm quite happy with my life. I'm quite happy with the friends that I have and the work that I do and everything else. Yeah, I'd love to realize God. Sure. If you ask me, would you like to realize God? I'd say, yeah, sure, of course. But do I see nothing but darkness? How to cultivate this? Thakur said many things about this, how to cultivate it. Sometimes he says all of our sadhana is meant only for increasing this vyakulata. And other times he says holy company. When they say why, they would ask, what is the benefit of holy company? He says it increases this longing for God, this yearning for God. Because we see someone who is attained, unless we know that something is possible, unless we know we really have a mother, and the mother is waiting for us, unless we really believe it, then we won't have that longing for it. So unless we see someone who has had that type of experience, yeah, we won't get that type of conviction. So it's holy company. Yeah, those who have had some type of experience, some type of higher realization, and or at least that conviction. Yeah, the mother is there. Mother is dwelling within us. Mother is guiding us. Ah, what yearning! How restless the child feels for his mother. Nothing can make him forget his mother. He to whom enjoyment of worldly happiness appears tasteless. See, we don't have this vairagya. This vairagya is the other half of longing for God. There are two halves to all of this. One is vairagya, the other is anuraga or vyakulata. So the one half is that the world has to have no appeal for us anymore. We've lost our taste for it. Somehow it almost becomes unbearable. Worldly life, that's one half. Then the other half is that we're not simply trying to get out of the world, but there's something positive that's drawing us and we're striving to realize. So he to whom the enjoyment of worldly happiness appears tasteless, he who takes no delight in anything of the world, money, name, creature comfort, sense pleasure. Yeah, and in fact, Thakur is much stronger in other places that everything seems like the raging forest fire that we're trying to escape. Relatives are like venomous black cobras that we just don't want to. Yeah, that stage will come. Not that it will always be there. That stage will come, usually in the beginning, and usually they become monks who have that. Afterwards, it tames down a little bit. So, he to whom the enjoyment of worldly happiness appears tasteless, he who takes no delight in anything of the world, money, name, creature comfort, sense pleasure, becomes sincerely grief-stricken for the vision of the mother. And to him alone the mother comes running, leaving all her other duties. Now remember, he's talking to Bankim. He's not going to say these things unless he sees that there's some substance to him. He must know. Of course, he's heard about him also. And they'll go through that Devi Chotarani, huh? Yeah, they'll read. He'll ask M afterwards to read from that book, and he goes through the whole thing. Some things he likes, some things he doesn't like so much, but still, from that we see that Bankim wrote about a religious subject, his understanding of Gita and other things also. That restlessness is the whole thing. Yeah. Somebody once said that Thakur taught a new yoga, this vyakulata yoga, that one can realize God just through yearning alone, through the long, intense longing of God. That restlessness is the whole thing. Whatever path you follow, doesn't matter. This is the thing. This sincerity, this longing, it doesn't matter what path we follow. Yeah, when Swamiji was asked about this image worship, he said, what can I say? He was the disciple of a man who realized the highest through that type of path. So how can I say that it's not a legitimate path to real God realization? Whatever path you follow, whether you are Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Shakta, a Vaishnava, or a Brahmo, the vital point is restlessness. God is our inner guide. It doesn't matter if you take a wrong path, only you must be restless for him. He himself will put you on the right path. Now, if we know that someone is dwelling within the heart of our very being and still hiding from us, still not visible, then that longing and restlessness will be even greater. This is that nihita guhayam, that somehow hiding, or like treasure that's there, but it's underground. We have to dig for it within the cave of the heart. No place, not some distant place, something like that. Or longing for it will be even greater. Besides, there are errors in all paths. Now, Thakur says this many times, mostly to get rid of the pride that some people have regarding their own spiritual path and spiritual community. Whether they're Shaktas, whether they're Vaishnavas, whether they're Brahmos, he used to say that this was the one fault that they all had, that they thought that we're the ones who really know. Others are a little misguided. They're worshiping God, of course, in their own way, but this is the best possible path. The others are a little superstitious, or they haven't thought things through, whatever it is. So everyone thinks his watch is right. But as a matter of fact, no watch is absolutely right. Yeah, Thakur says, the other places also, that there are errors in every religious tradition. Errors only with regard if we're trying to analyze the spiritual path the way we would analyze science or something. That there'll be things that can't be scientifically proved. There may be things that are contradictory, this and that. But in terms of the spiritual path, they can all be authentic, and they can all, if we have that faith and everything, take us to the highest goal. So suppose, see, this is the difference between the philosopher and the spiritual seeker. Suppose there's an argument, or the many jivas are only one. And one will say, yeah, logically and through scriptures and everything is a reflection of that one. There are no real individual jivas. Okay. Now, we'll have the dualists and we'll have the qualified non-dualists. Do they not turn out God-realized souls? What's the harm if somebody says, yes, I am an individual, I accept that. There's no Maya involved in it. I accept that, longing to realize God. See, most of this is a dualistic framework that this spiritual path Thakur is talking about. So it's not which one is ultimately true, because Thakur said none of them are ultimately true. They're all paths. But it's a question of Are we suited to follow that path? Do we have that faith in it? Are we sincere? And will we act according to it? These are the crucial elements of it. Besides, there are errors in all paths. Everyone thinks his watch is right, but as a matter of fact, no watch is absolutely right. The other times he says, what is absolutely right? The sun. That's all. You have to adjust it sometimes to the sun. Really, the only correct way of judging the time is the sundial. Yeah. Really, if you think of it that way, and that we can't calibrate. We can, yeah. There are other things. Say this pi. Okay, is there any way to give a number, an absolute number to it? No. But if we do a diagram, and we do it with the circumference, this and that, yeah, we can get exactly. But say we have a triangle, and right angle triangle. One side is 2 inches, the other side is 4 inches. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. That you add them together, and the other will be so. Yeah, so you'll end up with the square root of a number that doesn't have any finite number to it, and yet that line is exactly the distance. Only we can't put a number to it. It's exactly right. So the sun is exactly right, but we can't. Get Earth. So Thakur says, yeah, the reality, there's no question, but it's when we try to put it into words, when we try to calculate it, calibrate it, and everything, then everyone has their own opinion about it and way of looking at it. Everyone thinks his watch is right. As a matter of fact, no watch is absolutely right, but that doesn't hamper one's work. Yeah, because we have to have this understanding that this is a path that we're on. If there are errors, they won't hinder us, and we're going to leave the things behind us and go to higher and higher truths and deeper understanding. We don't have to bother too much in the beginning. Do we have everything correct? Do we really understand things? No, we have to start the journey. If a man is restless for God, he gains the company of sadhus. So this is how grace works. Grace works in 2 ways, 2 levels. One, there's the initial grace, which will lead us to a holy person or to a spiritual path, or which will allow us to have the free time or something. It's Thakur says maybe the elder brother takes over responsibility for the house, something like that. That also we look upon as grace. This human birth is grace, all of that. And the ultimate grace is realization. That's a different thing. But both are grace, different types of grace.
So is it a part of prarabdha too?
Yes, if we're going to talk about the disciple finding the guru, then if there's any truth to this idea of prarabdha karma, I think it has to be with the guru and the disciple. See, this prarabdha karma, we don't know that. Is it every event in life? Is it a handful of very special events? Is it the husband and the wife finding each other? The family we're born into, of course. That we know what happens just at the time of birth or conception, whatever. But the feeling that one has when one finds the guru, that they were meant to meet that guru, that so we can say grace and prarabdha karma. Well, I won't distinguish between the two. We can say it was meant to be. Through Mother's grace, it was meant to be. Yeah. Both of them are attitudes. We can't scientifically explain why and how things happen. So this again, this cause and effect always works in both ways. Through longing for God, we find in Guru we get holy company. Through the Guru and through holy company, we get greater longing for God. So It's not a catch-22. It's not any contradictory idea. That they just work hand in hand. That we have to have a little bit of yearning, something. Sometimes we may not even know it. We may think that we have no interest in anything, and we meet somebody, and life gets changed. Meet a holy person. Other times we feel some longing, and then the guru comes. But once we have the grace of a holy company, then we find that naturally this longing for God increases. Longing and the desire to lead a spiritual life and to have a spiritual ideal, and to see the joy that comes from leading a selfless type of life. These all come through holy company. Trailokya of the Brahmo Samaj began to sing. So this is, see, there was always a mixture when Thakur went to Calcutta and had these meetings at different people's homes. There was such a big overlap at that time between Thakur's disciples and members of the Brahmo Samaj, those who were previously members who became Thakur's disciples, or his disciples who attended both. There was always a big overlap. So he's also addressing, when he's talking to Bankim, he's also talking to some of the others, the Brahmos. Most
all in other sense house.
other sense house, yeah. He was probably also a Brahmo earlier. Huh? Do we know that? Adhar Sen. Adhar Sen. Anyhow, that was so common in those days. Compared to the people who knew and had some regard for Sri Ramakrishna, the Brahmos will be in the thousands. Thakur's the people will be, in the tens or something. The Trailokya, he had great regard for Sri Ramakrishna, but didn't quite appreciate him fully. He also had this idea that, wonderful, sweet, loving, sincere, simple soul who may be a little bit off his head, a little bit, something like that, and who, by the grace of God, came into contact with Keshav, who straightened him out a little bit. That was the feeling that many of them had. But he was greatly influenced by Thakur. He, of course, is the one who wrote before Rabindranath came along. He's the one who wrote, the main songwriter for the Brahmo Samaj. Beautiful songs. Thakur loved them. And after meeting Thakur, now the name of Mother comes into his songs. Before that, it was more this Upanishadic ideal, looking upon God as Father and everything. Presently, so he began to sing. Presently, Sri Ramakrishna stood up and lost consciousness of the outer world. He became completely indrawn, absorbed in samadhi. Now, whatever he said before to Bankim left some impression, of course, but seeing Thakur go into samadhi, that'll leave a different type of impression. The devotees stood around him in a circle. Yeah, most of them had seen it many, many times, over and over again. Bankim is a newcomer. Pushing aside the crowd, Bankim came near the master and began to watch him attentively. He had never seen anyone in samadhi. So he understood it was genuine. There were other people, even Girish in the beginning. He thought, is he feigning this? He doesn't know, is it daytime or nighttime and all of that. Yeah, but he somehow seems to feel this is something that he has to see very close up to understand this. After a few minutes, Sri Ramakrishna regained partial consciousness and began to dance in an ecstatic mood. Thakur always talked about Chaitanya Dev's 3 different states. He also had the same. Lost in samadhi, in ecstasy, singing and dancing, or coming down, so conversing with the devotees. It was a never to be forgotten scene. Bankim and his anglicized friends. So he had come with a group of his own friends, but they all probably were somehow acquaintances with Adhar and with other Brahmos and everything. Yeah, there were always some links. There were a lot of links at that time. So Bankim and his anglicized friends looked at him in amazement. Was this the God-intoxicated state? The devotees also watched him with wondering eyes. See, everybody knew, especially Gita. People studied it at that time. It was well known, and there's so many references to samadhi and the state of prajna and everything. But who saw somebody in that state? Yeah, so it's natural to wonder: is this something that can be really attained and achieved? So finally, they see somebody like that. Anything?
Noise from this
Right.
story.
Yeah, there's tornado warning today. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, we're in a safe place.
Yeah.
So Bankim and his anglicized friends looked at him in amazement. Was this the God-intoxicated state? The devotees also watched him with wondering eyes. The singing and dancing over, the master touched the ground with his forehead, saying, Bhagavata, Bhakta, Bhagavan. Talk about different things that he would say at different times. Salutations to the Gyanis, Yogis, and Bhaktas. Salutations to all. He sat down again, and all sat around him. Now, all of Bankim's sauciness seems to disappear now. And he just says, Sir, how can one develop divine love? So that means that he had some substance to him, this is Bankim. Yeah. Master. And he'll give the same answer. Through restlessness. The restlessness a child feels for his mother. So the same answer, how can one realize God and how can one develop love of God? We get the same answer. And for the bhakta, one of the features of this bhakti yoga is that the goal of bhakti yoga is bhakti. Is the attainment of love of God. Not necessarily visions and experiences, all of that, but if they can develop that love of God, this is higher than anything. Prema is higher than mukti. They say this panchama purushartha. This is the fifth aim of life. Prema is divine love, greater than liberation or anything. So how can one develop divine love? Master, through restlessness. The restlessness a child feels for his mother. The child feels bewildered when he is separated from his mother. Same things that he was saying earlier. And weeps longingly for her. If a man can weep like that for God, he can even see him. At the approach of dawn, the eastern horizon becomes red. This is an example that Thakur uses many, many times. That how does one know when one is on the verge of God realization? If we get up early in the morning and we want to see the sunrise, before the sun comes up, before we can see the sun, we see this little pink and orange and different colors on the horizon. If you ever go on a seaside or something, when it's open, you know the sun is going to come up at that time, then you can see this. Arunodaya. Yes, Aruna Udaya, this reddish glow that comes. He says, when you see that, then you know how long does it take? 10 minutes, 15 minutes or something? You'll just see the outer edge of the sun on a clear day. And then the whole thing will come big. It's big at that time on the horizon. At the approach of dawn, the eastern horizon becomes red. Then one knows it will soon be sunrise. Likewise, if you see a person restless for God, you can be pretty certain that he hasn't long to wait for his vision. A disciple asked his teacher, Sir, please tell me how I can see God. And now we get some idea of this vyakulata, what it really means. Come with me, said the Guru, and I shall show you. He took the disciple to a lake, and both of them got into the water. Suddenly, The teacher pressed the disciple's head under the water. Okay, so no time to take a deep breath, nothing. He's not prepared for any of this. Now he's plunged under the water, and he's feeling the weight of the Guru's hand. So even if he wants to come up, he can't come up. After a few minutes, the Guru released him, and the disciple raised his head and stood up. The Guru asked him, "How did you feel?" The disciple said, "Oh, I thought I should die. I was panting for breath." The teacher said, "When you feel like that for God, then you will know you haven't long to wait for his vision." So it sounds awful, but we have to feel like we're dying in worldly life, that we're drowning. That and this you talk about prarabdha karma. This won't come until the time is right for that. With holy company, it doesn't matter what it is. That the time will just have to come when this, not just worldly life becomes tasteless, it becomes impossible. It becomes unbearable. It happens. Yeah. So that's only half of it. The other half is longing for something. So not just I feel that I'm going to drown to death, but longing for a breath of air, God realization. So always this vairagya and anuraga, always hand in hand. I thought I should die. I was panting for breath. The teacher said, when you feel like that for God, then you will know you haven't long to wait for his vision. To Bankim. Now he's going to say the same thing that he says to all these other people who come to him, Vidyasagar and everything. They're good people. They're sincere people and everything, but they haven't learned how to dive deep in spiritual life. Not that what they're doing, there's anything wrong about it, but Thakur came, especially for those who were qualified for some higher type of experience. He came for everyone, of course. We don't want to restrict it that way, but he was the living example for those who had a shot, at least, of God realization. And if they hadn't come into contact with him, perhaps it never would have happened in this lifetime. And how many qualified people came to him? This is why this idea of lila comes in. Not just karma, but when this avatar comes, that like a magnet, he draws with him all of those who are specially qualified or have some connection with him, who are in their last birth somehow. Yeah, like a magnetic force. Yeah, so it's not just that through contact with him, how many turned out to be such great souls. They had to have some very special substance to be born at that time and to have his company for so many years. To Bankim, let me tell you something. What will you gain by floating on the surface? Dive a little under the water. The gems lie deep under the water. So what is the good of throwing your arms and legs about on the surface? This diving deep means within the heart, or within the mind, going beneath the surface mind. The surface mind is the cognitive mind, the intellectual mind, the thinking mind. And go deep within the heart to the feeling, and leave the world behind. Go deep in meditation, and try to realize the gems that lie at the bottom. The gems lie deep under the water. So what is the good of throwing your arms and legs about on the surface? A real gem is heavy. It doesn't float. Yeah, we won't find it just on the surface. It sinks to the bottom. To get the real gem, you must dive deep. Bankim. Sir, what can we do? And now this is a little bit of the sense of humor will come back, but not bad this time. We are tied to a cork. It prevents us from diving. And the answer good. Everyone laughs, but it's a good question. Yeah, of course. I would love to dive deep. We all would. Yeah, let me sit for meditation and forget everything. Dive deep and get the gems at the bottom. Of course. But something is preventing us. Something's holding us. or samskaras. Something is theirs. So it's a good question. That master, all sins vanish if one only. So he's assuming, or his real answer is yes. This karma, the things we've done in the past that have given these tendencies to the mind and give rise to worldly desires and everything. That these are the reason for it. He says, but all sins vanish if one only remembers God. His name breaks the fetters of death. So this is another question of faith. We have to have faith in this repetition of the name, and faith in the thought of God, that it can wipe out years and generations of karma. All sins vanish if one only remembers God. His name breaks the fetters of death. You must dive, otherwise you can't get the gem. Listen to a song. One of Thakur's favorite songs, the master sang in his sweet voice. Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. This is a Baal song. The Baals, they didn't care too much for the gods and goddesses and things. Everything was within, everything was mystical, everything was esoteric, and tremendous devotion to the guru. Yeah.
Were the Vaishnavas, Maharaj?
They were a mixture. That there was very strong
Radha
movement that came out of the Chaitanya Dev movement in Bengal. Yes, yes. But they can also be Shaktas, worshippers of Divine Mother, and they can also be Sufis. Yeah, the Muslims, they can be, because the Baals, they didn't care for any of these social conventions. They were really outside of society. I know this mostly just from this Lalon Fakir.
Yeah, Lalon
Yeah, I know a lot about him because I've watched this movie many times. Yeah, yeah.
But Thakur said he's going to come back as a Baal next life, right?
Yeah, he gives that example also, that we came like a Balor Dol, like this little group of bows. They show up and they sing their songs. Nobody knows where they came from. Next time you look around, they've disappeared and gone someplace else. Yeah, yeah. Thakur himself was similar to them in many different ways. But anyhow, they had a community where they made no distinction between a Brahmin and outcast and Muslim or Hindu. They all lived together and in harmony and everything. It's, but
It's very difficult to understand their language. Like
everything is esoteric. Everything has a double meaning. Yes, they did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it on purpose so that only the inner ones would know. Even some of these other groups. Yeah, Thakur gives the example that someone has a Krishna Gandho, the smell of Krishna to them. Other people say, "What is that? We don't know what that means," or something. But for the inner circle, it'll be code language. So they use a lot of code language, highly mystical things. Yeah, but beautiful songs. So this will be one of those songs. Doob 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 shagare amar mon. And so many songs, Bengali songs, probably others also. The author who is, they're not authors. I mean, these are all very sincere spiritual seekers or highly people of high attainment. Say Ram Prasad and others like that. They're always addressing their own mind. Oh, my mind. Go back to your own abode. Oh, my mind. Dive deep. Yeah. So there was always this feeling that this mind is the one that has to be told what to do, and that they have the ability to tell the mind what to do. And now somebody will say, well, that's also the mind. Of course, it's also the mind. But this is just the understanding that we can rise above the ordinary worldly mind and the mind that's floating on the surface and tell that mind dive deep. Anyhow, it's a poetic way of putting it, but it's a very common thing. So dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart. Yeah, so they weren't so much for this. Was this Krishna Lila, Rasa Lila was something really happened. We go visit those places, go in Poland. Everything was internal with them. Go seek, O mind, go seek Vrindavan in your heart, where with his loving devotees Sri Krishna sports eternally. Light up, O mind, light up true wisdom's shining lamp, and let it burn with steady flame, unceasingly within your heart. Who is it that steers your boat across the solid earth? It is your guru, says Kubir. This is not Kabir. This is Kubir. He was some Baul. I don't know if anybody knows anything about him. Meditate on his holy feet. So that was also distinctive of this the Baul tradition, this tremendous reverence for the guru, worshipping the feet of the guru and everything. There's a Mona Manush, that was the man of my heart. I mean, when he found his guru, this Lalon Fakir. Yeah, Mona Manush. All listened spellbound. Again, Sri Ramakrishna began to talk. Master, to Bankim. There are some who do not want to dive. Yeah, Thakur talks about that there are some people that, because of their samskaras, that this isn't the propitious time for them. They have to wait. It may be a whole lifetime. Buddha Jiva, he says. This is Buddha Jiva, that they won't find any incentive. They'll think they're fine. No desire to get out of this net that they're caught in. They won't realize it, and they'll think that everything is okay. So that's why we have to say there's a certain type of grace that comes, the grace that causes us to want to dive, to have that desire for something higher. So there's some who do not want to dive. They say, won't we become deranged if we go to excess about God? Now that's, of course, a very high idea. There's some who would say, you're wasting your time. I want to enjoy the world. But this is even some spiritual here. This is a little bit of a reference to the Brahmo Samaj. That like Thakur had become deranged, they don't want that to happen to us. We want to be sensible, not go too far. So they say, won't we become deranged if we go to excess about God? Referring to those who are intoxicated with divine love, they say, these people have lost their heads. Yeah, behead. But they don't understand this simple thing. God is the ocean of amrita, immortality. Yeah, Thakur used to say, if the mind dwells on something too much, gets obsessed with it, we can lose our thinking and everything. But if we're constantly thinking about consciousness, the mind itself is consciousness. How can it become deranged thinking about what is its real nature? So once I said to Narendra, Thakur gives this example, always refers to Narendra. Yeah, maybe he's the only one that he said this to. Suppose you were a cup of syrup. There were a cup of syrup and you were a fly. Where would you sit to drink the syrup? Narendra said, he was intelligent, Narendra. I would sit on the edge of the cup and stretch out my neck to drink it. Yeah, syrup is sticky stuff. Not only might you get a little stuck in it, you won't be able to get out even. It's very thick syrup. Why, I asked, what's the harm of plunging into the middle of the cup and drinking the syrup? Narendra answered, then I should stick in the syrup and die. Intelligent answer. My child, I said to him, that isn't the nature of the nectar of Satchidananda. Amrita has two meanings. Amrita means immortal, and it means nectar. So, the Greek ambrosia is the same. Ambrosia comes from they're linguistically connected. It was some nectar that you drank that would make you eternal, immortal. That isn't the nature of the nectar of Satchidananda. It is the nectar of immortality. Man does not die from diving into it. On the contrary, he becomes immortal. Therefore, I say, dive deep. Don't be afraid. By diving deep in God, one becomes immortal. Bankim bowed low before the master. See, now some humility has come in everything. Yeah. I don't think that he was trying to be rude. He was trying to be just light. Yeah.
He was
Probing a little bit, but I think also all his buddies are there. And he was known for his wit. You were telling me, somebody was telling me he wrote these satires and things. He was known for that. So he was just being in character a little bit. Yeah.
It seems that he had respect for him.
Oh, yeah, of course. Now we see how much respect, especially after hearing his words and after seeing the samadhi. Bankim bowed low before the master. He was about to take his leave. Bankim, sir, I am not such an idiot as you may think. I have a prayer to make. Please be kind enough to grace my house with the dust of your holy feet. Master, that's nice. I shall go if God wills. Okay, then it continues. That'll be a nice little story. But it never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
Vidyasagar
another line
also.
from Bankim.
What's that?
There's another line from Bankim.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah. There's a whole long story about that. Yeah, it happened with Vidyasagar. It happened with others. Devendranath Tagore. I don't know if Thakur met him again after that, possibly, but was not invited back. And so
Vidyasagar was supposed to come to Thakur,
he said that he would,
but he never came.
but he didn't. So Thakur always felt that Bankim is a wonderful person, but not quite true to his word. Now with Bankim, we don't know. That Thakur, it just says at the end that it never happened. The second meeting never happened. What was the date of all of this? So it's almost 1885. Yeah, by April, Thakur starts to get the cancer. Yeah, who knows? Don't know exactly what happened. Sometimes people had great respect for Sri Ramakrishna. Then when they left, they would think, was I hoodwinked? Was I taken in? So we don't know. There were other people the exact opposite. When they're with him, they think, jovial person, we had so much fun. And when they leave, they say, oh my God, think how I talked to this person, who was I sitting with and everything. So people, we don't know exactly what happened after that. Okay, so we're stopping the middle of page 675. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukam Bhathudavikraham Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namah. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, and who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone. And see you next time.
But then everything is not recorded, Maharaj. Remember, Good Prana Mataji told us about it, that Thakur visited Swamiji's house.